Once upon a time, there was a lovely princess who liked to take long walks into the woods. She wanted to play by the beautiful pond in the woods. After a while, she came upon the lovely pond. She sat by the side of the pond and began skipping rocks and enjoying her time. She had brought with her her treasured golden ball, a special gift from her father, the king. It was her most treasured toy. She just loved it. She threw it up in the air and caught it many times. She threw up her golden ball again, and it came down with a splash and landed in the pond. "Oh no!" cried the princess. "My beautiful golden ball! How will I ever get it back?" Just then, she saw an ugly frog coming out of the pond. The frog spoke and asked her, why was she crying? The princess could not believe she was hearing a talking frog. She blinked her eyes, and then the frog offered to retrieve her ball if she would let him live with her in her castle. She agreed to the deal and said, "Of course." The frog jumped back into the pond and dove very deep down and retrieved the princess's golden ball from the bottom of the pond.
Wow.
He then gave it back to the princess. She was so excited to get her golden ball back that she began to run back to the castle, forgetting all about her deal, leaving the frog behind. The frog was very sad and yelled, "Don't forget our deal, that I will come and live with you in the castle." The princess answered back, "How can an ugly frog possibly live with me in my beautiful castle?" And she continued on her way. The frog knew he must go to see the princess at her castle. She had to keep the deal they had made. The frog knew he had to convince the princess she must let him stay with her, even if it was just for a night or two. The frog cleaned himself up so he looked his finest. He hopped out of the pond and started to hop towards the castle. The frog finally came to the castle during the dinner hour. He hopped into the dining room, and then the princess had to tell the king all about the deal she had made with the ugly frog, about how he retrieved her golden ball from the bottom of the pond, and that he expected to come and live in the castle for retrieving the ball. The king listened to the story, and he insisted she must keep her word, and he welcomed the frog in. The frog hopped along and followed the princess to her room. He made himself very cozy on a bunch of pillows on her beautiful bed. He then fell asleep. In the morning, the frog awoke the princess and asked her for a favor. The frog asked the princess to kiss him, and he would leave her alone forever. The princess was annoyed by the frog, but she could not believe it, and she said, "Why would I kiss an ugly frog?" Just then, a tiny teardrop came out of the frog's eye. The princess saw the teardrop and thought she'd best give the frog a kiss, then he would just go away anyway. As she kissed the frog, he turned into the most handsome prince. The princess could not believe her eyes. The handsome prince told her how the evil witch had cast a spell on him and had turned him into the ugly frog. The only thing that would break the spell was a kiss from a lovely princess. When the princess heard this story, she fell in love with him immediately. The prince then asked her to marry him. She said yes. They held the wedding by the beautiful pond, and they lived happily ever after in the beautiful castle. Once upon a time, there was a boy named Aladdin who lived far, far away with his poor widowed mother. One night, a stranger knocked on the front door and said, "Good evening. My name is Mustafa, and I am looking for my brother's son, Aladdin. I would like to take Aladdin to work with me to make good money." Aladdin wasn't too keen on the idea, because there was something about Mustafa that he did not like. But his mother thought it was a great idea, and she agreed to let Aladdin go with his uncle. Aladdin and his uncle walked for a full day into the desert, until they reached a cave with a small entrance. Mustafa was too big to fit through the entrance, so he asked Aladdin to go inside. Aladdin did not trust him and was afraid he might block him in. But his uncle told him there were gems and gold inside the cave. Mustafa told Aladdin he could take as much as he wanted. Mustafa only wanted an old lamp from inside the cave. So Aladdin went inside. Aladdin could not believe his eyes when he entered the cave. It was full of treasures. He started filling his pockets with diamonds and rubies and emeralds. He also found a gold ring that fit his finger perfectly. Finally, he found the lamp Mustafa had asked for. He yelled for Mustafa to help him out. But Mustafa said he wanted to see the lamp first. Aladdin did not trust him, so he refused to let him see the lamp. Mustafa was angry and said, "I am not your real uncle, and I don't care about you, Aladdin. Since you won't give me the lamp, I will block the cave entrance with this huge rock." Mustafa left Aladdin inside. Aladdin sat crying with the lamp inside the cave. "Stupid old lamp," he said. "It is not even real gold." He rubbed the lamp a little to wipe off the dust. And all of a sudden, poof! A genie came out of the lamp. "Master, I will grant you 3 wishes," said the genie. Right away, Aladdin said, "Take me home." And poof, Aladdin was at home. His mother almost fainted at the sight of Aladdin. He told her about Mustafa and the cave full of treasures. Aladdin rubbed the ring he had put on his finger, and a second genie appeared. "Master, I can grant you 2 wishes," said the genie. Aladdin wished for a grand palace and enough wealth for him and his family to be rich forever. All of a sudden, Aladdin and his mother had a beautiful palace filled with riches. One day, Aladdin was walking through the city when he saw the most beautiful girl. He fell in love with her at first sight. She was the Sultan's daughter, Yasmin. Yasmin loved Aladdin too. Aladdin went to ask the Sultan if he could marry Yasmin, and the Sultan said yes. After many years, the Sultan died, and Aladdin ruled the country. This news reached Mustafa. Mustafa knew how Aladdin became so rich and powerful, and he made a plan to get the lamp back. Mustafa tricked Yasmin, who had no idea who he was, into trading him with the old ugly lamp for a shiny new one. Yasmin accepted the trade and went to show Aladdin. Aladdin was mad at Mustafa for tricking his wife into this trade. He searched for Mustafa and found him sleeping with the magic lamp. Aladdin slipped the lamp from Mustafa and raced back to the palace. Aladdin had one more wish, and he asked the genie to turn Mustafa into a frog so that he could never bother them again. The genie granted Aladdin's wish, and Yasmin and Aladdin lived happily ever after. Once upon a time, there was a lovely lady who lived in the countryside. Her beautiful white cottage was filled with the smell of fresh baked cookies that wafted over to her barn. She loved to bake cookies. One day, she wanted to bake something extra nice with flour, sugar, and spice. She got out her big red mixing bowl and her wooden spoon. She mixed all her ingredients until the batter was just right. Then she rolled out her dough just perfectly. She thought, "This dough is so perfect and flat and just like butter. I think it is time for my cookie cutter." Soon the cookie was baked perfectly. She had used a gingerbread man cookie cutter. The lady thought she must decorate this special cookie with 2 eyes, lips, and a nose, and a nice bow tie around the neck. She thought he looked delicious and wanted to eat him. Before she knew it, the gingerbread man cookie came to life, hopped off the cookie pan, and ran out of the cottage.
No. Oh no.
She ran after him. "Don't run! I want to eat you!" The gingerbread man shouted back, "Run, run as fast as you can. You can't catch me, I'm the gingerbread man." As she ran after him past her barn, a cow smelled the cookie and wanted to eat him too. The cow began to chase the gingerbread man, along with the lady. The gingerbread man saw the cow chasing him, and he said, "Run, run as fast as you can. You can't catch me, I'm the gingerbread man." Soon a chicken and a pig from the farm joined the chase for the gingerbread man. They chased him all the way to the edge of the big, big pond. The gingerbread man knew he would melt if he went into the pond. And then, all of a sudden, a sly fox appeared and offered to help the gingerbread man cross the water. "But I think you might eat me," said the gingerbread man. "Oh, don't worry. I just want to help you cross the water," said the sly fox. The gingerbread man thought it was okay, and he jumped onto the sly fox's tail. The lady and the barnyard animals watched as the gingerbread man crossed the pond with the sly fox. Soon the water got higher, and the fox told the gingerbread man to get on his back to avoid getting wet. The gingerbread man crawled from the fox's tail to his back. Then the water got even deeper, and the fox asked the gingerbread man to hop on his head to be safe from the water. Soon even the fox's head was going under the water. He asked the gingerbread man to hop on his nose to really finish his plan. The gingerbread man hopped on the fox's nose. Just as they reached land, the fox flipped his nose and the gingerbread man went flying into the air and was falling towards the sly fox's mouth. The sly fox's plan was now very evident. He was going to eat the gingerbread man. All of a sudden, a crow snatched the gingerbread man from the air.
Oh no.
The gingerbread man was now in the crow's beak. The fox just stared as the crow flew away in the sky. The gingerbread man asked the crow, "Do crows eat gingerbread men?" "Yes," said the crow. And when he opened his beak to answer the gingerbread man fell down to the ground.
Ow, ow, ow.
He ran away as fast as he could. The gingerbread man yelled to the lady and all the animals, "Run, run as fast as you can. No one can catch me. I'm the gingerbread man." If you ever see a gingerbread man, don't try to catch him, because no one can. There once was a poor country man whose only inheritance to his 3 sons was his farm, his donkey, and his cat. The eldest son inherited the farm. The second eldest, the donkey, and the youngest son inherited the cat. "What on earth will I do with a cat? I can barely feed myself," said the youngest son. "Let alone how can I offer this pet anything? I have no money and am so poor." "Don't worry," said the cat. "If you can get me a sack and a pair of boots, you will see I am the most valuable thing your father ever owned." The son brought the cat what he asked for, as he knew he had nothing to lose. The cat put on the boots and took the sack to catch a plump rabbit. The cat wore the boots on his journey. He would be called Puss in Boots. He caught a plump rabbit and brought it to the king. Puss in Boots told the king the plump rabbit was a gift from his master, the Duke of Carabas. For several weeks, Puss in Boots brought the king many gifts from his master. The king was very curious about Puss in Boots and his master, the Duke of Carabas. But the king knew that the Duke was friendly and had the most well-behaved cat he had ever met. The king did not know that Puss in Boots had made up the name Duke of Carabas for his poor master. One day, the king and his daughter were riding in their carriage by the river. Puss in Boots told his master to take off his pants and shirt and jump in the river. His master agreed to do so. Then Puss in Boots yelled out, "Help! Help! The Duke of Carabas is drowning!" as the king's coach passed by him. The king ordered his driver to stop, and he told his guards to rush over and save the Duke of Carabas. The king saw Puss in Boots yelling and knew he must help him, as he had been so generous to the king. Puss told the king the Duke's clothes had been stolen. So the king offered the Duke a fine suit of his own clothes to put on. The Duke of Carabas got in the carriage for a ride. The king's daughter quietly told the Duke he looked very handsome. The Duke looked at her and told her she was very beautiful. Along the way, Puss had asked all the farmers and workers on the road, "If the king drives by, you must tell him the owner of all these lands is the Duke of Carabas, or the ogre who lives in the castle will eat you." All the farmers and workers answered when asked that the Duke of Carabas was their landowner when the king asked them. Puss in Boots ran ahead to the ogre's castle and asked the ogre about the trick he could do by changing into a small mouse from a big ogre. Puss in Boots told the ogre no one believed he could do a trick like that. The ogre said, "Watch me," as he turned into a small little mouse. Puss in Boots grabbed the mouse and ate it up, and that was the end of the big bad ogre. Just then, the king's carriage arrived at the castle gate. Puss in Boots ran to meet the carriage and said, "Welcome to the castle of the Duke of Carabas." His master could not believe what was happening. On the long ride in the carriage, he had fallen in love with the king's daughter. And Puss in Boots had planned everything to work out perfectly. The Duke asked the king if he could marry his daughter. And the king said, "Yes, of course." The Duke of Carabas and the princess were married and lived happily ever after in their castle. Puss in Boots was named a great lord and never had to hunt for mice ever again. Puss in Boots proved he was the best inheritance, as he had promised his master.